All right, cool. So, all right, let's jump right into it. Boom. This is the acquisitions management portion of the lesson, how to build a scalable real estate business 101. And acquisitions is pretty much the most important part of your business. And I'm not just saying that, it's actually the most important part in your business because it's the area in your business where when you get good at it, this is what allows for those contracts to get signed. If there's anything that we need to know in and out is how to talk to sellers, and acquisitions is pretty much sales. If you're a rock star salesman, you're a rock star acquisitions management. And some people who never started in sales, you got to learn this stuff and you got to get good at it and you got to practice. You got to talk to a lot of leads in order for you to finally get it. So in this course, we're going to focus on leads, calls, setting the stage, high level options, a lot of tips and pointers. We're going to handle a lot of objection handlers. We're going to reiterate how to structure offers to the sellers, and we'll talk briefly about certain roles and responsibilities. So I want to get right into it. Leads. The one thing to remember about leads is the amount of leads we produce is based on how large we want our business to grow. Marketing will produce as many leads as you allow. The role of an acquisitions manager is to convert those leads into contracts. So acquisitions managers, they are in charge of converting. And the amount of leads you get is the amount of marketing you get. So eventually, when you get good at this, the amount of deals you get will just be based on the amount of leads you market to. And then when they come in, you actually being able to close on them. It's 100% numbers game and nothing else. Acquisitions, really important thing to remember is as soon as a lead comes into your system, you call them immediately. Some people, they let their leads go to voicemail. They want their leads to leave a voicemail so that they can gauge motivation. I don't care if you're motivated or not. As soon as you hit my system, as soon as you text me showing some kind of interest, I don't care if you're just playing games with me. I'm going to call you right away and I'm going to find out and I'm going to talk to you in person. A lot of people mess up and they don't convert leads because they let their calls, the money that they pay for these leads, they let them go to voicemail. We don't do that in our business. We pick up the phone and we call them immediately. And now we're going to get into setting the stage. Setting the stage is so important because this is our verbal stuff. This is what you need to learn. So the first thing I'm going to teach you is how to set the stage, right? So just a little bit of backstory. When somebody doesn't know you, when somebody doesn't trust you, they want to tell you no. So when we set the stage, we're not going to go for a yes, we're going to go for the no. And the script, and I'm going to say script a lot in this, and the main way to get to that no is to ask them if you caught them in a bad time. Subconsciously, they're going to be like, who's this? I'm in a threat. I don't know what's going on. I want to tell them no. And we're going to give them a reason to tell us no. So we're going to call them and we're going to say, hey, Mr. Seller, I figured I would call you instead of texting you back and forth. Did I catch you at a bad time? And they're going to want to tell you no because their croc brain is going to want to tell you no. So they're going to say no and they'll get that out of the way. And then the rest can be, you talking to them like a normal human being. So the first part of setting the stage is going for the no. Did I catch you at a bad time? And then once they tell you no, if they say yes, you're going to, schedule a different call. But most of the time, they're going to say no if they picked up the phone. So after they tell you no, you're going to introduce yourself and you're going to tell them your goal right away. Hey, what's up, Mr. Seller? Our company is First Valley, and we focus on purchasing properties and adding value to sellers in any way possible. I mean, by the end of this call, my intention is to come to an agreement today or schedule another time to get together and chat. Does that sound fair? So what you're going to do is you're going to go for the no, introduce yourself, and then eventually explain the outcome. By the end of this call, my intention is to come to an agreement today. Today is a really important word that you're going to say over and over, because once a lead is warm or hot, if you say today a lot, they're going to know to come to an agreement today. By the end of this call, my intention is to come to an agreement today, or, schedule another time to get together and chat. Does that sound fair, Mr. Seller? Yeah, no, whatever. Afterwards, when they say yes, confirm the details that your lead manager sent you and start to build rapport. These 3 lines are really important. You have to let it come out naturally. You're not going to be too salesy, but as long as you go for that no, introduce yourself and explain the outcome of the phone call, then that's the right structure to do it. However it is, you have a style to where how you want to explain the outcome, that's cool, but you want to explain to them your goal of the phone call so they know what to expect today, right? So setting the stage on the initial phone call is about setting the expectations in regard to time, what's on the agenda, and the desired outcome of the call. That's another way of saying what I just told you. In regard to time, hey, this won't take too long. If we come to an agreement today, that'll be great. My intention is to, make you an offer. And if we're a good fit for one another, get the process started today. And that's that. So right there, I just set my expectations in terms of time. What's on the agenda, me purchasing this property or putting it on the contract, and the overall desired outcome. I hope that makes sense. These tips and pointers are going to be your bread and butter, right? So a lot of people, when they're doing acquisitions, they like to write their notes. They like to type their notes, and you can hear that in the background. Like, watch. You can hear that, right? When you're on the phone with somebody and they're hearing your voice, and at the same time, they're hearing all these keyboards type, it doesn't make you sound authentic. So the key is to take notes on a piece of paper instead. And psychologically, when we paid a lot of money to know this information, like a lot of sales is psychological, right? So psychologically, something happens to people when they take notes on paper, where like it allows for like a free flowing thought, and it allows you to stay on track as opposed to typing them. So really good pointer is take notes on paper instead of typing them. After you take your notes on paper, then you transfer those notes into your computer. As mentioned, the sellers can hear the keyboard and it can come across as less informal. That's not good. Another really good tip is match the tonality of the seller. Tonality is important because, as they say, like attracts like. People like other people who remind them of themselves. So when you're talking to a seller, you have to match their tone. If it's a seller that speaks really fast and you have to speak really fast with them and talk just like them. If it's somebody who talks really slow and who's really soft-spoken, you want to talk really slow with them and you want to be really soft-spoken with them, you have to match the tonality. That's going to be really important because, as mentioned, like attracts like. When making your offers, emphasize and focus on creating solutions based on why they want to sell. Money is important. However, we want to structure our offer based on solutions to their problems because it will make our offer more attractive. For example, right? We had a deal where our maximum allowable offer was probably like, I don't know, $45,000. Let's just use a rough example. Your maximum allowable offer is $45,000. And you have a seller who's really motivated and wants to sell because they want to go to Florida. So instead of saying, hey, I'll offer you $45,000, you structure your offer based on their motivation. So you want to say, hey, you know what? I'll offer you $40,000. And just to help you out, Mr. Seller, Mrs. Seller, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to buy both of you first class tickets on American Airlines to go to Florida so you can be one step closer to your goals, so you can be closer to your grandkids, and so that you can live happily ever after, and so that you can move on to bigger and better things. Notice this is me offering them something other than money, but my offer is based on their motivation. So whenever you have the chance to offer them something other than money, it's going to make your offer look much more attractive. For example, I mean, I know you're having a really hard time cleaning this out. You know, if we purchase the properties and if we come to an agreement today, there's no need for you to clean out the house. We'll purchase it as is and take on all the costs of doing this clean out. So you don't have to lift a finger, just take whatever you want, leave everything else behind. That makes your offer attractive. Not only are we offering XYZ, we'll also purchase your plane ticket so that you can get to XYZ faster with no issue. That's the example that I gave you in terms of like Florida. So moral of the story, make your offer based on their motivation and always do your best to offer something other than money to make your offer more attractive. What you're also going to want to do during acquisitions is eliminate all the deal killers. Now, deal killers include other options like time, people, and fear. Let's talk about people first. Other people include realtors and investors, and it's so fun doing this. I love doing this. Emphasize why your company is better and why it's better for you to purchase as opposed to the other guy. For example, and this, I wrote this a while ago, so if I stumble a little bit, then, you know, don't mind me. I mean, Mr. Seller, I understand you're thinking of listing it with a realtor, and I respect you want to explore that option. I mean, however, if you do list it, you'll have to deal with, you know, appraisals. And then after the appraisal, you'll probably have to deal with lender required repairs. You'll pay commissions to the realtor. You'll pay closing costs, transfer taxes, other realtor fees. And, you know, at least our cash offer won't be too far from what you'll get putting it on the market with the realtor. Your bottom line will be very similar. The only difference is we'll make the process much easier and less stressful for you. So that's how you just kill the realtors, right? Because a lot of times you're going to find people, especially in the city, oh, I could list it for XYZ. Yeah, but then you'll have to deal with $20,000 worth of closing costs, where if you just do it with me, I'll pay everything, right? That's just an example. Avoid deal killers involving time. Avoid the let me think about it. I have to talk to my wife first. Stuff like that. When you set the stage in the beginning, make sure you're talking to all the decision makers. If you're not talking to all the decision makers, reschedule a phone call so you can get a conference call on both the husband and wife, or meet up with both the husband and wife. Because what can happen is you can talk to the husband and he's all with it. He hangs up, talks to his wife at night, and she's going to be like, are you fucking crazy? Are you kidding me? We're not doing that. And then boom, that time that you spent trying to sweeten him over just got eliminated. So don't talk to just one decision maker, talk to all decision makers. And then the whole let me think about it first is usually about price. So you say, I respect you want to think about it, but let me ask you this. How do you feel about the price? And most of the time, the whole let me think about it thing is always about price. If you can readjust your offer, then maybe they'll move forward today. So as mentioned, say today a lot when you're in your acquisitions. If we come to an agreement today, so if we can do today, say it a lot, subconsciously they'll move today as opposed to the next day. Fear, eliminate fear. When people have fear, is because they either don't know you, they don't like you, or they don't trust you. And a good way to eliminate their fear is if you direct them to testimonials on your website, or you kind of mention someone that they might know, or just make yourself likable, make yourself trustworthy, and, you know, get these people to know you. And the best part to getting rid of their fear is always coming from the heart. At the end of the day, you have a goal, you want to help them out, they can do whatever they want. And at the end of the day, you're just going to be truthful and honest, and people can feel that. And the more that they can feel that, the less fearful they'll be. Also, always ask for the sale. Engage with them right on the spot. Never say, hey, if you're talking to a seller, never say, we'll run numbers and get back to you. Because time kills all deals. Ask for the sale right then and there. If you're going to meet up with them, say a really good line. If you're going to meet up with them and they want a little bit too high, say, Mr. Seller, I'm going to be as completely honest with you as possible. I can't pay you $80,000 for that property. Should I still come out? And if they say yes, there's room for negotiations and there's room to play. So you take that appointment. Another tip, conduct massive follow-ups. Follow up every other day for 10 days. Follow up even after you put the property under contract. Also, it creates trust. And if something goes wrong, they're more likely to work with you. A really good example of this is people who, they do all these follow-ups. They put the property under contract and then boom, they feel like they did their job and they send all the contracts to the title company and, they weren't really following up with the seller anymore. Here we are, 2 months later, it's about to close and something goes wrong and you circle back with the seller because you need something from them, but they don't want to give it to you because they changed their mind. And that was because after you put it under contract, you didn't really talk to them no more. Once you put them under contract, make it a point to circle back with them for at least, and I fired an admin because she wouldn't do this. Make it a point of at least to hit them up once or twice a week saying, hey, just wanted to let you know everything is going well. Just ordered title. We're still good to go. I trust you're having a good day on this beautiful day. God bless. Bye. Anything, whatever. Just make sure you touch them. You touch them for at least once a week just to give them updates. When something different happens, update them right then and there. Hey, just did the final water meter read. I figured I'd let you know everything's going well. I'll give you an update in case anything changes. Bye. Conduct massive follow-ups, get it on the contract, and then follow up more. Because what winds up happening is if you're not doing the follow-ups after it's under contract, they're less likely to work with you when things go wrong. And I'm speaking from experience. You don't want to deal with this because it's very frustrating. Some more tips and pointers. And this is for high level. This is more high level stuff when you guys start to learn creative financing. A lot of times if they want too much money, once you learn creative financing, you can give them more than just a cash offer. And the way that you want to frame that is, Mr. Seller, unfortunately, your home doesn't qualify for our cash out program. But the good news is we have another program and we can pay you up to $10,000 more. Would you like to hear more about that? Prior to giving the sellers that option, you're going to want to know these things. You want to study all of this stuff because as I learned, there's no such thing as a bad deal. None whatsoever. Because if you can get creative with creative financing, and especially if they don't own any mortgages on it, then you can pay them more money just within like a longer period of time. And it's still a win-win for the both of you. So back to the creative financing, all deals fall into two buckets. There's no such thing as a bad deal. The first bucket is discounted cash deals where you give cash offers. And the other bucket is terms deals where we're talking seller financing subject to and lease options. And it is my, I don't want to say hope. Hope is like a really, I don't like the connotations in back of the word hope. I like to say trust a lot. And it is my trust that in the future, you guys will learn these terms deals and we can learn them together in future lessons so that you know how to provide these options for these sellers. This is a little more high level stuff. We're going to stick to the basics, but eventually this is where we want to be, where we're going to give them multiple offers based on the amount that they want. So what to do on an acquisitions appointment? First thing you want to do is if you're going in person, when you meet up with these people, you're going to knock on the door and you're going to take a step back. By you taking a step back, a couple steps down, this shows that you're not a threat. It makes sellers feel more at ease as opposed to knocking on the door and staying right in front of the screen, right? It makes people feel weird. You don't want to knock, take a couple steps back, go down the steps, and then when they open, they're going to feel more at ease. And I'm going to get into psychology stuff too in this lesson. So when you say hi to them, you're going to say hi to them with your eyebrows raised. And I know this may sound a little bit funny, but psychologically, when you see somebody, let's say you didn't see somebody for like 5 years, and then you see them again, the natural body language that you're going to give them is going to be like a, hey, how you doing? And every time you do that, it's with your eyebrows raised. So psychologically, when you say hi to them and you say it with your eyebrow raised, it's going to indicate familiarity, however it is you say that. So yeah, so you're going to want to say hi with your eyebrows raised. Subconsciously, it's gonna raise that familiar thing with them, and they're more likely to continue talking to you and like you, right? And that goes with females too. Back when I was single, if I was saying hi to a female that that I saw maybe in the gym or up the block, and I knew I was going to see them again, every time I would say hi to them, I would say hi to them with my eyebrows raised, and that made them like me. You feel me? So it's this psychological thing where it's to your benefit to do that. So again, you're there in person. This is so important. You're going to set the stage in person too. And this is super, super important because this is what's going to allow you to create the expectations for what you want in that appointment, and it's going to set your time in there. So, and a really good example of setting the stage in person, hey, don't worry, I won't take too much of your time. This will probably take like 20 minutes, and my goal is to confirm the condition of the property, take a few pictures, confirm my numbers, and if we come to terms and we're a good fit for one another, start the process today. Does that sound fair? That's going to be the first thing that comes out of your mouth, and they're going to say yes. And right there, you set the expectation of how long you're going to be there, 20 minutes, what you're going to do, take a few pictures, and if they feel comfortable with you and you come to terms, start the process today. And that's what's setting the expectation in person. You're going to want to leave early in order to drive by the comps and also be on time for the appointment. Some people lose deals because they're not on time, and it makes them seem like they don't value the seller's time or their own. And that does kill deals. You're going to want to leave early in order to drive by the comparables so that you can look at the other houses that sold in similar condition so that your offer can hold weight, and you can, so you know what you're talking about. So leave early, drive by the comps, be on time. Another thing that we had to learn the really hard way is always to bring a contract with you. Always bring the contract with you, because they can say yes and you can leave, and they can say yes and they can be ready 100%. And then as soon as you leave, they can take 5 minutes to think about it, get scared, and then that's it. Always bring the contract with you. If they agree right then and there, get the contract signed right then and there, because I guarantee you, when you leave, they're going to think about it, get overwhelmed, and then tell you forget it or ignore your phone calls. Bring the comps with you as well, the cash comps. So you can show them, you can be like, hey, I offered you 30,000 cash, but it's because, that's how much they're going for in this area. Look at this house right here. This one sold for 30, this one sold for 27, and this one sold for 29. I'm offering you the higher of all. This is how much I have to pay in order for it to make sense. But if you don't bring the comps, whatever, bring the contract though. The contract, 100%, you're going to want to have that. As a matter of fact, in my car, in the back seat, in the little sleeve, I got a whole bunch of blank purchase agreements in there. In case I ever run into somebody who's interested in selling, I'm not going to give them a chance to sleep on it. I'm going to write it up right then and there, and we're going to sign it right then and there. Also, on the acquisition appointment, you're going to want to take pictures with a tablet so you can show them the things that need to be repaired. Most folks grow comfortable and don't notice damages during the time that they live in the property. So after a while, you guys are going to realize that properties are going to need a lot more work than the sellers are going to tell you. And it's because they live there and they're so used to it and they grew so complacent with those damages that they don't think it needs to be repaired. So what you want to do is when you're taking your pictures in your acquisitions appointment, you're going to want to take them with a tablet so that you can scroll through those pictures while you're sitting with them negotiating, so you can show them like, hey, this needs to be released. This needs to be this, and this is why my offer is this much. Also, while you're at the acquisitions appointment, watch your tone and your body language. Everybody can spot somebody who isn't confident or who's scared. You're going to want to be confident. And at the end of the day, in your mind, you have to tell yourself, you're there to help them. You aren't there to help yourself. Your goal is to be of service and to solve their problems. And at the end of the day, if they don't want your services and if they don't want you to solve their problems, then that's on them and you're on to the next one. Be confident, watch your tone, watch your body language, walk in there like a boss, and you'll get things done, because people are going to feel more at ease with someone that they think can get the job done. So when you're sitting there negotiating or you go to your acquisitions appointment, you need to reiterate like, hey, maybe all these other investors, are giving you all these other offers, but can they actually get the job done? The difference between me and them is I do this and I'm one of the best at it. And I know I can take you to the finish line. So you have to be confident. As mentioned, you're going to want to sit at the table and walk them through the photos. When you're walking them through the photos on the tablet, if you need to renegotiate, do that. Tell them all the repairs that need to be done. Make sure you tell them it's because of lender requirements too, or because of city or township inspections. So tell them, hey, if I don't repair this and I go to refinance or I go to put it back on the market to sell it, they're not going to approve an FHA loan because all of these things are health and safety hazards. It got to get done. Always mention how you aren't far off and negotiate a win-win. So this is just a play on words. When you're negotiating your price, you're going to want to be like, let's say you're at 40 and they're at 60. You always want to, we're not that far off. Can we come to terms maybe somewhere in between? It could be like 10,000 and 50,000 and you should still say, we aren't that far off. And I learned that from my one boy, Leroy. He's a beast at sales and he does this and it like works every single time. He'll tell them like, hey, this is my offer, but at least we're not far off. Can we come to terms? Can we meet in the middle? Can we do this number? And that always gets them to agree. Bring the contract and don't leave unless it's signed. That's another thing I learned from one of my boys. He cannot take no for an answer. Like, yo, this dude will just keep talking until you finally sign the contract. Right. And if it's not money, because he's well-versed in creative financing, all he'll do is talk about creative financing. Oh, well, we could do this. We could do that. He has like 12 different options on how he can buy the property, and he doesn't leave there until the contract is signed and until it makes sense. So you're going to want to adopt that same attitude because it works. As mentioned, being a great acquisitions manager is in sales. There's a really good business book. It's called How to Win Friends and Influence People. And it's written by Napoleon Hill. He's like a business god. And that book will give you really good examples of some of the things you can do and say to win these people to your way of thinking. So pick up that book, How to Win Friends and Influence People. Also, You want to become a friend more than a buyer, right? So that means, excuse me. So that means if you go into the property, don't get right to business. Take a look around. Take a look around, right? Notice the sports memorabilia. Notice the frames on the wall with them fishing. Notice the guns in the gun case indicating that they go hunting. You know, don't talk business first. Go in there and bring something else up. Become a friend more than a buyer. If you need to sit there and talk about something totally unrelated to the purchase, do that first for as long as it takes. If it takes them 1 hour of talking about cars before getting into business, you let them. Because at the end of the day, people love to talk about the things they love. And if you give them an ear, what's going to happen? They're going to be more likely to like you because you just gave them the ear and they're going to be down with you. So be a friend more than a buyer. If you need to talk about something else, do that. Don't get right to business because it scares people away. As mentioned, look for things around the house that indicate what the seller is into. Right? As mentioned, if they like fishing, ask about it. Oh, I noticed you like fishing. When's the last time you went? Where do you go? I've never been fishing actually, but I've always been interested. I mean, just talk about that. So always look around for things in the house that, you know, that the seller's into and ask them about that and show actual genuine interest about it. Don't be fake about it because they're going to tell, right? If you notice you have mutual friends, you're going to want to bring that up, whether on the phone or in person. Oh, really? I know what's his name too. Like today, for example, I was talking to a contractor and he was fixing a building. And I noticed the building was one that one of my friends bought. His name is Freddie. And I'm like, oh, yeah, this is Freddie's building, right? He's like, oh, you know Freddie? And I'm like, yeah, I know Freddie. Freddie's my guy. And at the same time, I'm like trying to get quotes for my building that's up the block. But because I brought up my friend Freddie, maybe I'm gonna get Freddie's price. And Freddie's kind of cheap. So maybe I'll get this quote come back low too, hopefully. But anyway, if you notice that you have mutual friends, bring it up. Be a master at asking questions and know the right questions to ask. This is going to come with time. Acquisitions is kind of like lead management, wherein you're going to pre-qualify and you're also going to ask about, you know, certain things when they come up. And you'll know once you're seasoned, you'll know exactly what to ask. Phrases that will help you during negotiations. I love this phrase because usually when you're in an acquisitions appointment, and you're talking about money and condition, these things are naturally going to make people feel uncomfortable. So the best phrase that'll help you during this is, I mean, Mr. Seller, at any point before we get started, at any point of this conversation, if I say anything that makes you feel uncomfortable, it's because I'm telling you the truth and you do want to work with somebody that'll tell you the truth, right? And they're going to say yes, right? So this is something you're going to say because you know the conversation is going to get thick and they're going to feel uncomfortable, but you already told them if you feel uncomfortable, it's because I'm telling you the truth. And they're going to associate that uncomfortability with you telling them the truth, and that's going to work to your advantage. Another phrase that I love this stuff. I mean, this is sales. This is what gets these contracts signed. And and like I laugh because they work and they work so well. Another really good phrase. I mean, we're not looking to hit the lottery. We just need to purchase with enough equity to at least break even on the refinance or to make a little bit of change. I mean, I can't work for free, right? So two phrases actually. We aren't looking to hit the lottery and I can't work for free. Once you tell them that you can't work for free, they're going to understand that 100% and they're going to rock with you. We aren't looking to hit the lottery like, dude, we're not trying to make all this money off you. And that'll indicate that, and they'll be more likely to rock with you. Now we're going to get into objection handlers. Every time you get into these appointments, you're going to come across the same objections over and over. Everybody's going to have the same things to say. So if you know every one of these objections and you know how to answer and rebuttal to every one of these objections, you're that much closer to get that contract locked in. So I'm going to go over a lot of objections right now. I'm going to do my best not to talk too much into each because there's just so much, and I want you guys to get all of them. In these slides, you're going to notice there's going to be red words italicized in red bold. Now, what those red bolden letters are called downswings. Now, what a downswing is in sales is it's an embedded command psychologically. This is some high level stuff right here. I don't even know I should be saying this, but listen. Downswings are embedded commands where you get to somebody's subconscious more than the frontal lobe of their brains. When you say something in a high pitch like this, it's not going to convey as much as if you do a downswing command. So if you pick certain words to downswing, it will create a message in their subconscious that will be an embedded command. I know it sounds weird, but I'm going to give you guys a bunch of examples. So as mentioned before, the objection handler, I like to think about it first. That one should be, I totally understand you need to think about it. I respect that. But quick question, how do you feel about the price? Usually when they say they want to think about it, it's because they don't like the price and we need to readjust something. I would like to talk it over with my lawyer. I can respect that. And like me, if I were in your shoes, I'd ask the same. But quick question, how do you feel about what we spoke about? Did I answer all the questions that were important to you? So I said, like me, in a downward swing, because that gives the embedded command to like me. I can respect that. And like me, if I were in your shoes, I'd ask the same. But quick question, how do you feel about what we spoke about? And did I answer all the questions that were important to you? And notice these objection handlers are sloppy because it's supposed to be sloppy because it comes across as more natural when it's sloppy. When they say, just send the agreement over and I'll go over it. A lot of people, they don't want to move forward right away. They want to read the agreement and go over it, but it's really important that you do that together so that they can sign today. So my objection for this is, I'll tell you what, I'll send you our company commitment and it'll tell us all about our company. When you get to a place where you can review your emails, I'll also send the agreement so we can both go over it together. I just want to make sure that we're on the same page. And that right there, if they say yes to that, that means that while they're going over it, you can explain it and get them to sign it while you're explaining it. Otherwise, they're going to put it on the back burner and possibly not even sign it and let time kill that deal. If they want retail value and they say, hey, but the home next door just sold for $100,000. I'm sorry, Mr. Seller, we don't typically pay retail, but there are exceptions where we can pay more if you allow us to pay over time. Would you like to hear more about that? So this is what I was talking about with the high level stuff. If you allow us to pay over time, would you like to hear more about that? So the embedded command there was allow us to pay over time. So you didn't say that with a high pitch, you said that with a downward swing. I'm sorry, Mr. Seller, we don't typically pay retail, but there are some exceptions where we can pay more if you allow us to pay over time. Would you like to hear more about that? And that's when you get into seller financing and all that other stuff. All right. So a lot of people would just be like, what's your offer? Like the red sellers, what's your offer? What's your offer? I mean, you called me. These are called red sellers and they're super annoying. But these people, a lot of times they have their own motivation. That energy just needs to be matched. You just need to match their tone and you got to keep it real with them. The objection for that is I totally understand you want an offer right away. I can respect that. But I do plan on giving you a large amount of money in a short period of time. And I need to know more about the home to get that done for you. Did I catch you at a bad time? No. And then you get into the condition, right? So this is one of my favorite because I plan on giving you a large amount of money in a short period of time is another phrase that we use a lot that works a lot. I understand you want an offer right away, but I do plan on giving you a large amount of money in a short period of time. And I need to know more about the condition. So can you explain some of that? And usually they say yes, because it just makes sense. Another really good one, another objection that you're going to come across all the time is somebody saying, I mean, I don't know what I want for the property. Make me an offer. Because they either want to hear your number first or they really don't know what they want for their property. So the objection for that is, I mean, Mr. Seller, you seem like the type of person that knows exactly what they do want, what they don't want. So let me ask you this. If I offered you right now $1 million for your property, would you take it? Seller says yes. Okay, Mr. Seller. And if I offered you $1 for the property, you'd surely tell me to take a hike, right? You tell me kick rocks and you probably hang up on me, right? You're going to say yes. So you're going to say, I mean, so if you know what you would take and you wouldn't take, there has to be a ballpark number or a range in mind. And I mean, I won't hold you to it. I just want to make sure we're on the same page. And once they give you that range, you're going to take the bottom of that range, or you're going to run with that. I mean, this one's good too. I think you should come to to look at the property before you make the offer. I mean, it just makes sense. Your objection for this, that makes sense to everybody, but you're gonna come with a little bit of ego with this and a lot of confidence. I shouldn't say ego, I should say confidence. I mean, Mr. Seller, that's a great suggestion, and I understand why you're saying that. And we are professionals who purchase often, and I trust you. And based on the description of the property that you gave me, as long as it doesn't have any crazy issues like foundation, termite, or mold, I mean, I'm pretty confident that we can make a decision today. And that right there kind of opens the door to you signing the contract virtually versus, or, them knowing that if you go over there is to take care of business. Mr. Seller, we don't come out to look at properties. We come out to buy properties. In order for us to come out, we need some sort of commitment so that, you can see that we're serious. And so that if you're open to selling us your house, we're open to buying it. So that's pretty much that. I want to sell, but I don't want my tenants to move out. It's another one. I mean, like me, you're in the business of collecting rents. As long as they're paying on time and we can show leases and they cooperate with the sale, we can keep them in the property, right? That's an objection handler. Boom, right out the window. You're good. I'll keep the tenants in there. Don't even worry about it. As long as they're on time, you can show me leases. We should be good to go. In the event they aren't willing to pay, we're happy to give them cash for keys or get them on their feet somewhere else. Because, I mean, we aren't in the business of putting people in the street. We can surely work something out. It's another line you want to hit them with when it comes to tenants. I mean, hey, you called me. You're going to get that all the time. Yeah, Mr. Seller, I did call you, but let me ask you this. Are you interested in selling or have you given it any thought? And then you'll get your answer. You know what I mean? If they called you, it's either to troll you or to actually show interest in selling, and you need to gauge that. So which property are you interested in? Unfortunately, I'm not in front of my computer right now, but I mean, if you give me the address, I can get some information and we can make you a fair offer. How did you get my number? For me, I tell them I got it online. I tell them the truth. Online website is batchleads.io. And I mean, to be honest, most of the numbers that they give me are totally wrong, but I guess this time we got lucky. And when you say that, it makes them feel lucky. A lot of times they're like, when I say that, they're like, oh, cool. They're not like, oh, well, you will get some people, oh, well, you shouldn't call me. My number is not online, blah, blah, blah. But I love saying this because it works like 90% of the time, where it's like, I mean, I got it from this website's batch leads, but I mean, to be honest, most of the time, these people are giving me totally wrong numbers. But it's cool because I guess this time we got lucky. And then the other person, typically they're like, oh, okay, cool. Another one, are you going to lowball me? I mean, Mr. Seller, we aren't in the business of getting people to give away their properties, and we aren't looking to hit the lottery. I mean, simply put, we'll give you the best offer that's fair to the both of us. And that all depends on how much it's worth in tip-top shape and how much people are paying in as conditions. Does that sound fair? And then, you get to it after that. I have never heard of your company. That's cool. You're going to want to say, honestly, our company isn't that big. If you're talking to like a little guy, you're going to want to be the little guy. Honestly, our company isn't that big. It's only me and my wife. I mean, are you only open to working with big companies? You kind of turn it around on them. Like, hey, do you have something against small businesses? Right? I mean, honestly, our company isn't that big. It's only me and my wife. I mean, are you only open to working with big companies? Is that it? And right there, they're going to be like, no, 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 no. Okay, well, tell me more about yourself, or however the conversation goes. I think I'm going to hold off for now. This is something else you get. I totally understand, Mr. Seller. And if I come across direct, it's because I'm being honest. I'd like to secure the funds to purchase today so you don't miss out in the event another property is purchased. I mean, we can extend the purchase agreement all the way to the end of this year. We can still close on your timeline, and this will allow for the funds to be readily available so you don't lose out. So check these embedded commands. Don't miss out. Extend the purchase agreement and don't lose out. These are all the words that you're downswinging, and it creates an entire sentence in somebody's subconscious. Don't miss out. Extend the purchase agreement and don't lose out. So let's say it one more time. Mr. Seller, I totally understand that. And if I come across direct, it's because I'm being honest. I like to secure the funds to the purchase today so you don't miss out in the event another property is purchased. So we can extend the purchase agreement all the way to the end of the year. We can still close on your timeline, and this will allow for the funds to be readily available so you don't lose out. So that's the objection handler for the people that say that they're going to hold off. Another one, my realtor says homes are selling for $300,000. My objection for that, I mean, in all honesty, maybe you could get the property for $300,000, but you still have to pay commissions, closing costs, realtor fees, conduct any lender required repairs, especially if the buyer has an FHA loan, and a host of all the other hidden fees. And that can all add up quickly. And besides, I'm just being honest with you. Most realtors I know aren't really investors themselves, and they're only looking to make the next commission check so that they can make their next car payment. So you want to destroy that realtor and also mention all the fees that they have to pay for putting that property up on the market with a realtor. Also, some people are going to be savvy, and they're going to want like a 10%, 12% earnest money deposit, $3,000 instead of $200. All my purchase agreements are $10 earnest money, no more, no less. So when they ask me for a lot, I pretty much just say, hey, the standard earnest money deposit on the open market is like $500. And to run title with Rhonda and Conestoga is only $180. Is there any specific reason you're looking for 5,000? And that's a good way to handle that objection. So those were the main objections that you're going to go through. My suggestion is practice those, make them your own, and have your own version of these objections, have your own version of these downswings, and make them your own. They sound natural the way I'm saying it because I made them my own. There's keywords and key phrases that I know that I should use, and at the same time, I was able to take those keywords and input them within the language that I speak so that it can sound as natural as possible. So my thing is go through those objections, make them your own, write down your own, make sure you do these keywords, make sure you do these key phrases and these downswings, and then come across as natural as possible. Because the problem with the beginners is when you start to learn this stuff and you're trying to hit them with a script, it doesn't sound natural to yourself, and then they can tell. So you're going to come across as really scammy, and they're going to be in fear, and they're not going to do business with you. So for objection handlers, it's good to do practice, and more practice. And it's also really important for you to go on YouTube or like similar sites to learn more objection handlers, because ultimately, if you can defeat every objection handler, you can get closer to getting the contract signed. So practice, research it, learn your objection handlers, and that should be one of the first things you do for acquisitions. Okay, so how do you make a great offer? Very easy, very simple. You're going to watch your tonality. When you're presenting offers, you match your tone, right? But when you're presenting the offer at the end, it's a really touchy subject. Like, you can't just present your offer in a really excited way unless there's reasons to be really excited. You're going to want to watch your tonality, always be in a lower tone when you present your offers, because it's a touchy subject and you should convey seriousness. Build great connection, great rapport. Don't make offers without rapport. People do business with folks they like, know, and trust. If you can get them to like you, if they know you and they trust you, they'll sign the contract, but they're not going to sign it otherwise. So that's going to be super important. Pulling out pain and motivation. The deeper you get with their motivation and pain, the better you will be in your negotiations and the more rapport you'll have. So pulling out pain is pretty much knowing why they're selling. If it's a pain point, like poking at the pain point a little bit, and if there's a big motivation, highlighting that motivation really loud so that they have more incentive to sign the contract. While on the phone, getting a great property description, because we can't negotiate without knowing all the repairs that we need to make, because as mentioned in the previous lesson, we're going to use all those repairs in our negotiations. Another thing to make great offers is having great company benefits. Know and understand the benefits of your company so you can emphasize them during your offer. You pay closing costs, both sides of the transfer taxes, close on their timeline, and you purchase it as is. They don't have to put any money. You do the clean out. You do all of that. Know all of the benefits in your company so that you can highlight those benefits. So when you're structuring your offer, you're going to reiterate their pain, the condition, the motivation, and then you're going to talk about all your benefits, and then you're going to make your offer. So again, reiterate all their pain and motivation, reiterate all the repairs and or updates that need to be done, reiterate all the benefits of working with you in your company, then make the offer. Don't just make the offer. Always go back to that formula. Roles and responsibilities of a great acquisitions manager: follow up. Every morning, you're going to log into your CRM and circle back with all of the follow-ups that you need to do, that the lead manager sent you. You're going to pre-qualify all of those leads. Make sure you get all the decision makers, the occupancy, the condition, their pain, their motivation, their timeline to sell, and their price. Build rapport using the Ford model, like we mentioned in the last lesson: family, occupation, recreation, and dreams. Another responsibility is to set tasks manually on the CRM. Set tasks for yourself if needed to remind you to do something, because once you start talking to a lot of leads, you're going to want to set a task for every lead and take notes for every lead so that you can remember who these people are. Because if you're talking to 700 people and you need to follow up with 20 people, the only way you're going to remember is if you take good notes and you remember to set a task to follow up with them. Another responsibility for these acquisitions managers is to run numbers. So prior to contacting the lead, make sure you run the numbers and figure out your maximum allowable offer, right? Pull up the property, run the comparables, see how much your maximum allowable offer is, and then work your way backwards so that you know your numbers while you're talking to them. You don't have to tell them those numbers, but you need to know your numbers before you make that offer over the phone or in person. Another responsibility is to fill and send contracts. Once we get a commitment, once they're ready to sell, send the contract as soon as possible, walk them through it and get them signed. If you're going in person, if you're going on the acquisitions appointment, do all of the above and watch both your body language and your verbal language, and you should be good to go. So that is the acquisitions lesson. I know it was a lot. I know it wasn't perfect either, but I trust that you guys got the most out of it. And if you have any questions, I'm open.